Okay.
I'm going to read it because this is interesting. So Lauren wrote, and she said that we're getting really frustrated, and we tried to purchase a home recently, received multiple offers. The asking price was $165,000, and apparently went under contract close to $175,000. In another case, our friends tried to purchase a home, and they did win in multiple offers, and now on their second lender and their third appraisal. Now, it looks like they won't be able to purchase because the value has fallen short. The value she's referring to is the appraisal. What do you suggest?
Wow.
I'm going to try and keep this till we could probably spend a half an hour on this, but let's spend 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to give my perspective, and then I want to get yours, Perry. This really talks about some issues that we've dealt with before. If you are a seller in Austin, it is a tight market. There is a perception, both by some agents and by many sellers, that you, in fact, can pick almost any agent. All you got to do is stick a sign in the yard, and you're going to have success. And in the case that she refers to of somebody getting, 4, 5, 6 offers, and it's selling for over list, because people are just bidding, irrespective of whether it's going to appraise or not, is a serious issue. And it points to a couple things. One, you can't hire an agent that doesn't understand how to price properties. And if you underpriced a listing by $10,000, you're more than likely going to have an appraisal issue, like she notes in the second point. And you're going to have a disconnect. If you as a seller are thinking you're going to sell your house for $175 because your listing agent mispriced it, and now every appraisal that comes in falls in short. Maybe it's only $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 short. You're going to have to either give up that money or go back on the market and try it again. And the problem is that a lot of buyers won't be around. Those other 5 buyers, for example, if you had 5 buyers at 165, they're going to go out and try and buy something else. And by the time you get to the appraisal process, many of them are going to be gone. So this all points to the real issue as a seller in Austin. If you don't pick a great agent, even in a hot market, you can put yourself in harm's way. That second point that Lauren brings up about appraisals and having to change lenders. And on the third appraisal, I can tell you when I represent buyers, if a listing does have a shortfall and we've got to go to a second appraisal or spend additional monies, I always demand that the listing agent have a discussion and we get it in writing that if the seller doesn't want to lower the price based on the first appraisal and they're basically betting that it's going to appraise, I have them put their money where their mouth is and reimburse if they don't agree to lower the price should it come in short. In other words, we'll pay the higher price, but if we go to a second appraisal and it doesn't come in again, you have to either give us the money back for that second appraisal because you're telling us you're confident the higher price will go. And you'll find that most agents don't do this. They'll just continue to put their buyers in harm's way. I don't know what the particulars are when she's talking about them being on a second lender and a third appraisal, but that is my final point. I'll turn it over to you, Perry, about hiring a great buyer agent. I was in a multiple offer situation this weekend, and we walked away and didn't overbid because the issue is going to be that it's not likely to appraise for how much it got overbid. And in the case of the listing we were looking at, it overbid by close to $10,000 as well. And we went and bought another listing. Now, if it goes through the scenario they talk about here, and now you're back to a listing that comes available again, it starts the whole process over again with a seller who had poor expectations set. They're thinking that their listing is going to sell. Because once you see those offers, Perry, don't you think a seller's going to be a little jaded about thinking about selling it for less?
I'm absolutely convinced that will happen.
So what is your perspective on this? Because I think this is a problem in Austin where the market's getting very frothy and heated, and people think they can just hire any agent, don't they?
All right, so I'm hearing 2 questions here. First of all, is it okay to buy a property that's worth more than any appraisal? And I believe that answer is yes. You have the right to pay more than a property is worth, especially if someone else is going to steal it from you. You may have to pay for it out of your own pocket, but and the lender may not lend on it, but you do have the right. Now the second question is how do I make sure that I win multiple offers and still get a good loan and not have to pay for that right to pay more for the property's worth? And I think that's where the delicacies that are gained from experience through experienced agents in the negotiating process. I love your idea, Kevin, about putting the seller's mouth where the contract is. I like that. Excellent. suggestion, one great example of how to do that. And I have been on the other side of a seller who's gotten 4 offers in 2 days, and then something didn't work out with the one they accepted, which wasn't the highest price. Because remember, guys, the highest price doesn't always get the deal. Sometimes an all-cash deal will get closed sooner, or just something happens, something better about the offer, sooner closing date, fewer option period days. It could be any number of things. So don't think that you always have to put the highest price to get the deal done, too. I think that we are going to be living this for a long time, and there is going to be a growing pain. And if one of the good things I like about the foreclosure market, if there's indeed a shadow market, which everyone claims to be, and which I believe there is, even the banks are selling it at market price and getting multiple offers too. So that'll probably help us down the long run as well. Key message on my answers are going to be this. If you really want it and you got the extra money, you have the right to pay for it. Don't let someone steal your home. But also use a broker who's got techniques like the one that Kevin shared, reducing the option period, a higher down payment, sometimes selecting the title company that the seller wants is enough. You don't have to pay the full price or you don't have to pay the most price to get the home in all situations. And I would encourage you to be open to thinking through those.
And I would just tie this down as we wrap up today with the fact that, as Perry said, you should be realistic in your expectations. And, I've seen people walk away for $1,500 on a $200,000 property, and it's something they're going to live in for a decade or more. It's like a big deal for their family to get settled into a house. And that's up to you to decide that as a buyer, but pretty silly if you didn't do it. But also think about the consequences of hiring a professional, whether you're selling or you're buying. That's going to have huge implications on your success. When I sat down with my buyer this weekend and I talked to her about the strategy of, here's why I think we're going to do what we're going to do in this multiple offer, but if it plays out this way, I want to understand what you want to do. I went through the whole thing of future pacing it for her, so it was easy for her. She didn't have any agony when I went back to her and told her that it had got bid up $10,000 more. And she said, okay, let's go to the second property. That makes sense. It doesn't make any sense to pursue it when it's that far over list price. And she already knew that it was going to probably be an appraisal issue, and she didn't want to get in the middle of that. She wanted to buy a house, and we already had a backup. An agent that gets excited about showing property that doesn't have a whole lot of experience may not be able to put the buyer into a situation where they're going to be successful, and they may lose property after property. And we've had previous questions where people are getting frustrated about losing property after property, haven't we, Barry?
No, absolutely.
And, it's interesting, the dynamic in Austin when you're working on the buy side, that the seller and their listing agent are offering compensation to the buyer agent. So this one thing about buyer agency is it's not like it's typically, in most cases, costing the buyer anything to hire the best talent available. And if you go back and listen to some of our previous episodes, we go into detail about some of the questions you should be hiring any agent you hire, especially in a hot market when you're working on the buy side. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. This is the end of the episode. And Perry, do you have anything else you want to add on this before we wrap up for today?
Thanks. Good. Prepare yourself for those multiple offers, especially in Legend Oaks.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that